night of May 31st, 2009. The city of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Air France Flight 447, a sleek Airbus A330, prepared for its long-haul flight across the Atlantic to Paris. On board, 228 people, families, friends, business travelers, all settled in for what should have been a routine, unremarkable journey. In the cockpit, the crew was experienced. Captain Marc Dubois, a veteran with over 11,000 flight hours, and two first officers, David Robert and Pierre-Cédric Bonin. For the first few hours, the flight was just as it should have been. The plane was a marvel of automation, designed to handle the complexities of long-distance travel with minimal human intervention. As the plane approached the heart of the Atlantic, Captain Dubois took a scheduled rest break, leaving First Officers Bonin and Robert in charge. This was a standard procedure for long flights, relying on the aircraft's sophisticated systems to handle the nighttime leg of the journey. But ahead lay the Intertropical Convergence Zone, a notorious belt of powerful thunderstorms. The pilots had flown through this area many times. They saw the storm on their radar and made a small course adjustment to avoid the worst of it. They felt confident. They had technology on their side. What they didn't know was that they were about to be blindsided by a threat invisible to their radar. At 35,000 feet, the frigid temperatures and high moisture content were creating a cocktail of tiny, insidious ice crystals. These tiny crystals began to clog the aircraft's pitot tubes, small, heated sensors on the outside of the plane that measure airspeed. This seemingly minor issue was about to set off a catastrophic chain reaction. At 2:10 a.m. UTC, the first alarm sounded. With no reliable airspeed data coming in, the plane's autopilot disengaged. It did exactly what it was programmed to do when it lost critical information. Suddenly, the Airbus A330, a machine designed to fly itself, was a machine in the hands of a human. And for the two pilots in the cockpit, this was a scenario they had not trained for. The plane's computers, confused by the conflicting speed readings, went into alternate law, a state where many of the built-in flight protections were disabled. The first officer, Pierre-Cédric Bonin, was at the controls. He was a younger pilot with less experience. In the chaos of the blaring alarms and a sudden need to fly the plane manually, he made a fatal decision. He pulled back on the stick. He believed the plane was losing altitude and speed, when in fact it was doing the opposite. By pulling back, he forced the aircraft's nose up, a move that reduced its speed and lift, and the plane's built-in stall warning began to scream into the cockpit.
Style.
The automated voice repeated, a chilling, insistent warning. But the pilots, disoriented and confused by the cascade of alarms, ignored it. They were at a high altitude flying a modern jet. They thought a stall was impossible. They thought it was another malfunction, a ghost in the machine. The plane's nose was pointed up at a 16-degree angle, but it was no longer climbing, it was falling. Backwards, at a staggering rate of 10,000 feet per minute. For the next 4 minutes, the pilots fought the aircraft. One of them would pull back on the stick, only to be contradicted by the other pushing forward, an invisible battle of wills that only added to the plane's uncontrollable descent. The captain, Marc Dubois, rushed back to the cockpit. He was a seasoned veteran, but even his presence couldn't cut through the fog of panic and confusion. He found two pilots completely overwhelmed, a situation that had deteriorated beyond recovery. The last words captured by the cockpit voice recorder were a chilling confirmation of their desperate situation. The tragedy of Air France 447 wasn't just a technical failure. It was a perfect storm of a frozen sensor, an automated system that gave up, and a crew that was unprepared for the complex interaction between the two. It showed that when we push technology to its limits, the consequences of a simple failure can be more terrifying than we can imagine, especially when the humans in control are no longer trained to fly the machine, but simply to manage it. This was a story of a plane that should have been invincible, brought down by an ice crystal, a misunderstanding, and a fatal human reflex. And it left us all to wonder, how much control have we really given away? Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click the subscribe button and hit the like button. See more cases that you've never heard of.